We're
Only been
live.
another 17 billion years in internet and or politics time. So, hope you enjoyed this last epoch since the last show. Anyway, there was a thing that happened that involved some bombs and some sites in the desert. And long and short, well, I'll be honest. When I
Some people didn't know what the fuck they're doing.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. But I would like to address my own, I wouldn't say failings because we're all human.
All right,
Well, not all of us, but most of us are human. I mean, communists don't really tune into this show, so it doesn't matter.
they don't count.
Right. But anyway, at the time that it went down, I was genuinely really upset by things. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Why are we going into another fucking forever war in the middle of the desert for no fucking reason at all?
Oh my god, what happened? Do tell.
And, and that's reasonable, right? I didn't go crazy. I wasn't like, impeach that motherfucker. Just put him on a rack and
Well,
and
it's
tickle his
funny because
toes.
a lot of people said, I'm not going to die for Israel,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny. I'd say it's funny because Israel does a lot of dying is for Israel, and I don't think they've really ever asked the United States to do that for them, at least not directly. And
At
so this was
least
really
not directly.
this, and so it's interesting, the whole bombing of the nuclear sites, which we basically had told them we would do, and it's been long-standing U.S. policy
Oh
that
yeah, that's
they
right.
not be
I've got
allowed
the
to get a nuke.
perfect image. That's right. What am I thinking?
Uh-huh. So very interesting that that went down. And as it turns out, World War III didn't happen. Although that wasn't without some issues. The whole ceasefire not meaning fire now kind of thing. You
Yeah,
have 12
like
hours to get. It wasn't 12 hours to get out of your system. It was 12 hours of ramp your shit down
yeah, that was
instead
something
of
that
ramp your shit up and get it out of you. It was supposed to be knock it the fuck off.
yeah
And two countries didn't quite fucking get the memo.
yeah
But
you could
it
say
seems
they
that
they don't know what
they've
the fuck they're
so
doing.
far.
You could say.
It seems that so far right now they've stopped their bullshit for the moment, and peace talks and so on. Although it's going to be interesting doing peace talks with people who are the enemies of God. So the
So
thing
yeah,
you're supposed to be
the other
opening with
thing
that I interrupted
which has
immediately.
come out today, that'll be out of the most recent Grand Ayatollah. That will be Makarim Shirazi, who has issued a fatwa, like I give a fuck, calling Muslims around the
Right,
world to kill Trump and Netanyahu, declaring them the enemies of God.
and Westerners in general.
With an
Which, yes,
update
that one did
also, the
happen.
fatwa was issued and declared on any individual or government threatening leader Khomeini to be considered an enemy of God.
Which means that includes your shit posts on X. So for all of us who had fun with that, you're on the list too. It's a long list from Iran.
Yeah,
People
to be
they
fair.
hate, which well, so it's not so much an exclusive list as a have you gotten your membership card yet?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, you're 16, you can drive now. Have you gotten your ID? Yes, congratulations, you're now an enemy of God. What?
Yeah, well, as you do.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
one of those things.
I gotta wonder how many of those DMs, because those DMs are open. Khomeini's ex DMs are open, and of
They
course, it's not
were
actually
and
Khomeini
probably
that's
still
used.
are.
Of course, it's not Khomeini who's actually reading them or any of that nonsense. He's not actually posting, because he'd have to be posting in English, which he doesn't.
Hmm. Well, that is a thing.
So, whoever his whatever bocce boy he's got working for him, I'm sure. I'm sure that he's going to be quite busy for a while, taking down all the names of people that have been sending him fun images.
Hmm. Not true.
But yeah, enemies of God. which okay,
But yeah, I mean that's
that
basically
was
it.
kind of inevitable.
That's where we stand. So nothing particularly new or fascinating about that. But I got to be honest. When when I saw this going down, I kind of feared for the worst.
You had a
And
moment.
after a while of just watching things happen, talking with some people, I went ahead and I don't know if I shared this with you, but with some folks in our channel, just talked about
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's the chance that this is the same as the Syria play from last time.
There's a
Now,
chance. So let me just go ahead and fill in this little detail too, as to one reason why I haven't been so much worried here. Russia had previously said a couple times in the interim that they're not going to support Iran. China flew in some supplies, but never said anything overt, so they would treat it as a proxy. Pakistan flat out said we will nuke anybody who engages nukes with Iran, but that they will also not assist them militarily, which is an interesting way of saying things. And then, of course, there was the Iranian retaliation against a U.S. base, in which they sent 14 missiles, 13 of which got slapped out of the air, and one of which was allowed to go and land uselessly somewhere in the sand.
mm-hmm.
Um, in Qatar.
Which, if we're to be entirely honest with the optics of everything, pretty much in keeping with
Yeah.
how it appeared. Now, that said, there has been some intel that's come out. Don't know how trustworthy it is. And honestly, at this point, we actually can't. Which, annoying, yes, but that's how it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to be able to really do these high level dissections of government issued statements because we know every single fucking thing about it, just like as if we were right there in the fucking situation room. So, as annoyed as I am to not have all the data, I am glad that this incredibly sensitive data isn't leaking out like a fucking sieve like
Well,
it
why did that
has been.
happen? Why did that leak not happen? Why did Operation Midnight Hammer happen? Go off without a hitch. Um, what was it that kept that so secret? Do you know? It was a pretty simple thing that was done.
Yeah, there were some members of some of those committees that were just not briefed. As a matter of fact, there was one thing that was that you could say really connected all of those individuals, and it would be membership in the Democratic Party. And
Yep.
yeah, lo and behold,
It's weird how all of a sudden the
everything
enemy lost all communication
just
ability
went down.
with the military
And our
branches,
friend
huh?
Sam here in
Suddenly they had
chat
no idea what was going
makes
on.
a great comment on that too. That fuck Jimmy Carter. Yes, fuck Jimmy Carter. Not just for the regular reasons, which of course fuck Jimmy Carter, but also because he had a hand in opposing the Shah.
Yep.
And that was
Feckless
the
piece of shit.
worst thing that happened to Iran in modern history. Really. Now, was the Shah a bit of a
He was eccentric, you could say.
troublemaker? Yeah. Did the Ayatollahs not really like him super a lot? Yeah. But he was Western aligned, and it would have been in our best interest to do the wet work that gets done when things are a problem, especially in that era. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
just leave it at that because those problems had solutions. They kind of still do, but we don't do wet work the way we used to do wet work, you know? But anyway,
Oh
speaking
yeah.
of wet work, there's some firefighters, and this is some breaking shit. This has happened in just the past few hours. There was a
Uh huh.
brush fire in Idaho. We don't
Oh.
know a lot. Presumably, the brush fire was set by this individual who has set up an ambush. There's two dead firefighters. Their
Wait,
bodies are.
really?
Hmm?
Fucking hell, man.
Yeah, yeah. There's two dead. FBI, U.S. Marshals are on the scene. The cops on the scene are taking active sniper fire. There's potentially multiple shooters. Don't know who the suspects are
Well,
or much of the
just shoot
situation.
them. That's my answer there. Don't even bother bringing them in.
Oh,
If they're shooting at you, just shoot them.
apparently they're locked down under sniper fire, so it's kind of not even a thing they can do at this exact time.
Well, as long as they're sitting there playing duck, they can have someone play hound and go in the background, find these fuckers, and just shoot them.
Well, they've
Because
got
again,
marshals and they got
that's the
FBI on
answer.
scene.
Good. That's the answer to an active sniper
And we
situation like
have
that. Is just
one
find them and take them
suspect
out.
photo that I'm not going to share because there's not much to it, but it looks like
Uh-huh.
probably an Indian dude, and not my kind of Indian.
Uh,
Dot. So that
so
could be any
speaking of
number of that could be any number of demographics because a lot of people
speaking
try to
of
follow me.
speaking of overseas operations here in the United States,
Mm.
the idea of having many individuals of certain notoriety allowed through the border in the past few years, and sleeper cells. Turns out
Yeah.
that a couple of those were taken out um, relatively recently after they were given the go-ahead by the Ayatollahs. So that was a thing. Let me go ahead and check my bookmarks. I thought I had something in here I could just point to directly. Oh, and Zero Hour is going after what's his face from the Pennsylvania shooting attempt on Trump's life.
Oh, the Butler shooting.
Yeah,
Yeah, the guy
he's
who
going to
has
go
no
ahead and take a
history.
crack. He's going to take a crack at looking into him. So 0 Hour, good luck to you.
Indeed.
Oh, where
Absolutely,
was it?
indeed. Because we are still the only thing we know that came out of that was probably Trump getting elected and Demolition Ranch being closed. Let's be real. Because
I feel terrible about
that was a
that.
very unfortunate or fortunate, I guess, depending, choice of attire for the day that the old shooter man decided on.
Yeah. Let me go. I'll leave
Not a good look for the demolition. And you know what else isn't a good look? You know. Well, stabbing a guy in the heart, obviously. Especially when he asks you politely to leave the tent that you're standing in.
Yeah.
So
Someone got himself an indictment.
But even better than that. But even better. Let's just do this in order. Okay, so there's the Karmelo Anthony thing, and that poor kid and his fucking piece of fucking dog shit father. Enough said about that. But anyway, this poor kid gets killed by a feral animal by the name of Karmelo Anthony under a tent on a slightly rainy day because he. At the time, he asked Karmelo to leave politely, and Karmelo said something to him. The only testimony we have was something along the lines of, do it again, I'll fucking stab you. That's the testimony. Who can say what actually occurred? But anyway, Karmelo is alleged to have said that to him. And then, when... whatever, I can't remember his name, Metcalf, said, okay, well, you've got to go. Austin, thank you. When Austin was like, hey, well, you've got to go, there was some testimony that he put his hand on the shoulder of Karmelo. We now have learned that no such physical contact occurred, the only physical contact being the knife in Carmelo's hand with the heart of the victim. And for some reason, they're not releasing the video, and he has been indicted, yes. But more still.
So the video, interestingly, the video does not show the actual stabbing.
Mm-hmm.
To my knowledge, here, if we're talking, I think it's the only video that's been released, correct? Or
there's no video
shown to journalists.
Shown to some journalists, yeah.
So the video shows them. Video was taken from across the field, across the stadium. So it's lucky that it got anything at all. But in the corner of it, This is the reporting from journalists, so take that with a grain of salt as you will. But
Oh, so kind of
they
like the
seem
7
to be
frames of the
impressive.
Pentagon on 9/11. But anyway, yeah.
But it seems to have been credible enough given the variety of sources reporting
Yeah. So
basically the same
unlike the
thing.
7 frames of the Pentagon on 9/11, this is actually very credible video evidence. Duly noted.
It's credible enough given the variety of political bents reporting the same information from having
Mm-hmm.
seen it.
Well,
So
and going
not people
beyond things too,
regurgitating.
where it is and police deference to self-defense being what it is, where it occurred, and that he was still taken in, as we said in the earliest days of this, that alone is very telling.
So in the video, this is it's like I haven't seen it myself, but this is third hand here. Uh, it's shown that the altercation, and then off screen is when the stabbing occurs, and then on screen again is when I think Carmelo Anthony runs away. So,
But yet
um,
more.
so,
But yet
but
more.
what it does clearly show is that the testimony given previously is false.
Mm-hmm.
That it was Carmelo Anthony who was the aggressor,
Mm-hmm.
and that he, without any physical altercation proceeding, did the stabbing just off screen.
So it seems. And interestingly
Which
enough,
which is
his loving, caring family, his parents that, reached out to everyone except for
and so
themselves
he's
for
also
help.
asked for a public defender, which is
Well,
freaking
no,
hilarious.
not just asked. Granted.
Pleaded. Oh, granted.
Granted. Indigent status. What does indigent status mean? That means that he is
He's
not
broke.
able to afford an attorney. Now, let's rewind just a little bit to a GoFundMe.
Hold on now. Are you telling me he's been granted indigenous status? I had to pull a Garvin, sorry.
No worries. No worries. No, he's no Elizabeth Warren. No, sir.
That's good.
No, he is an indigent, not an. So, despite the $500,000 in
Yeah, despite the
donations that
half
his
million,
family was able to pull in to, buy that new Escalade
turns out it really
and
did
set
go
new
to a
house.
house with a car. Wouldn't you know
Well,
it?
they just don't have the money to defend poor
Now, I'll
Karmelo.
say this. I'll say this. If I was a parent and I bleed my son all the way up until the point where I was shown video evidence of him doing it like that, not even like strictly of doing it, but like that, everything he said was bullshit. If I was a parent, I might be disgusted to the point of saying, "Defend yourself. I don't care anymore." I mean, I mean,
And that would be reasonable.
you believe and defend your kid, but at the same time, like if your kid's a murderer, like I can't remember the comedian who was saying like, but the gist of the bit that the serious bit the comedian did on it up until the joke part was, I want you to believe, come to me if anything ever happens. So, would you turn me in if I was a murderer? Well, of course I would, but you tell me about it first. It's like there's a part when you're being a parent where you have to do the right thing, regardless. And if it's a way where you can jump in front of the train for your kid, yeah, you take that bullet, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
now to be
but
fair,
if your kid's
to be
like on
completely
film
fair
the
though,
murderer,
to be completely fair, black fathers do get a pass because they're not there to actually know that they need to do it.
but
So
this, well, you see, you're making that's fine as a joke, but this one has a father,
he does. So there's actually no excuse.
right? So again, like there's going to be a point where if you're a parent and your kid becomes a murderer, where like you can't like just outright hate them for that. It's your kid, but there might be a point where you say, look, you got to defend yourself because you put yourself in this situation and it's pretty fucking obvious you're the one
That
who's
is to
guilty.
say, you done fucked up, kid. You need to own
Like
up and you
so
need to face the music.
if the parents are the ones who are the beneficiaries or the direct recipients of that GoFundMe and they tell the kid, look, no more, we done defended your ass, and this is what we got. Um, I get it. It sucks. It's actually really fucked up for them. Like really fucked up for them that they now have a kid who they might see through their eyes as a murderer. That's terrible. So I mean, it's I'm not saying like they're the ones getting the worst off here. Clearly they're not. Clearly Austin Metcalf got the worst of this, and
Oh, the
his
absolute
brother
worst of it. Oh my
and his
fucking
brother got
god!
this,
Just
and his
to
brother getting the
imagine,
second worst of it.
I I could not imagine a member of my family behaving like his father did.
Oh,
I
dude,
I
yeah,
would
that's
rise up from the fucking grave. I would dig myself out of the dirt and rise as a
look.
fucking ghoul.
Here's the thing, though. You gotta keep in mind that that kind of shit will break a guy. I'm not defending his behavior, but I am saying that it might not have been his proper mental state driving it. It's fucked up that that's the way he chose to try to
Well, the
try to go
problem with
about
it is
things.
he got the same fucking visit that every person gets from the same Department of Justice representatives. And that's a real problem. That I think we can do away with that service that is provided to victims. Because I'd rather just hear these people be honest. Because if honesty results in some ugliness, it is ugliness that is needed to be confronted for a great and long while. And perhaps that ugliness will teach the people that have been oh so ugly to dial it the fuck back. You know, just saying.
Sure. Again, you know, he's a victim in this too.
Mm-hmm.
Austin's father. You know, Austin's brother had to hold his brother as he died in his arms. That's
And
why
to
I
be
say
fair, he's had a
he's second
reasonable
victim here.
reaction. The kind I would
Yes, he
expect from a
has.
human being.
Now the so well keep in mind. Here's what happens sometimes is that this is a fucked up psychology of being a human. Sometimes when something psychotic like this happens, the way that you maintain sanity is to continue to function in the best way you can, kind of as if it's happened to someone else. And it's again it's a screwed up psychology because it's clearly happened to him and his son. Um, but
He fell
part
for
of
the
that
hype.
might be to no, it's just saying like this is at some point it's going to crash on him. Like he hasn't processed it yet, is what I'm saying. And eventually he's going to process it, and it's going to crush him.
I hope
And
so.
he'll need his
I hope
family.
it ruins his life. And that he is eventually able to pull himself from the brink and not do the thing. I
Well, here's
won't
the thing
comment
that he
further.
really needs to do right now. He needs to be a father to his other son,
Mm-hmm.
and he needs to wake the fuck up and do that.
Yeah,
Like I
he
said,
needs
he's
to
not
wake the fuck up
processing.
and shut the
I
fuck
don't think
up.
he's processing.
And
I don't think he's processing what exactly happened just yet, and it's not something that people being pissed off at him elsewhere is going to snap him into.
I'm not going to snap him out of
That's
it either, though, is the thing. Obviously.
well, like I said, he the thing he needs to be more so right now is a father to
Oh,
his other
okay.
son.
Update. Suspect of the initial firefighter shooting in the in the Idaho wildfire sniper thing that was
Uh huh.
literally just happening. Suspect has been found dead. I got nothing more
Good.
for you than that. Just that the shooter.
Perfect.
Now, are we dealing with some comp sushi? Who fucking knows?
All the other details right now are going to be
But the shelter in
shady
place
as
is
best. So
lifted.
just
Kootenai
let it go and
County
be still.
in fucking Idaho out of lockdown. SWAT located the man. Firearm was found nearby. And that's all we've got.
Good.
But anyway,
He's dead. Like I said,
better I
find him
can
and
share
shoot
it.
him.
Better I can share it with you now. So you'll find out as
Yeah.
it was literally breaking. Apparently, this happened about 1 hour ago. So there you go. There's your most recent reporting. I sincerely hope that situation's actually resolved, because active shooter situations are
Well, it's
always
not as a
complicated.
word you could use, but
Always
it's not a
complicated.
good one.
Yeah. But anyway, there is the update. So that situation, one hopes, is resolved. But anyway, we've got another situation. Which one, right? Which one do we want to even go with? Let's do the flip around floopity boop, and talk about how the United States is on par for its lowest murder rate on record, just period.
That's good.
And that is per Deputy Director Dan Bongino. So I will say, credit where it's due. Good job, Dan.
I got questions.
Same. Are we
I'm sorry,
using the
but
original
we had the
metrics,
same.
or have we updated the metrics to be real metrics?
I'm sorry, but we've got the same exact shit issue we had under Biden, where places were not fucking reporting them. Places weren't prosecuting it, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it yet. I'm
Now, that
sorry, you don't
said,
just
this
get to
is
walk in
from...
and take the same fucking credit for the same exact problem.
Yeah, so it could be something,
I need resolution
or
on
it
that.
could
I need to
just
know
be
that it
a
was actually the data that's.
big load of bullshit.
Well, that's the thing. Again, I need to know that the problems that were there before have been fixed, or unless they're just taking the same exact shit and shoveling it forward as if they come up with it themselves. Sorry, Bongino. I mean, I like the guy and all, but he's gotta show
He said
proof
a
that
lot
this is
of good
different.
things.
It's got to
And
be
he
proof
has
that it's
said
different.
a lot of good things. I don't
He's
really
been doing
care
some good
about
things.
words, though.
Yeah, I need to see that this is different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna fucking just forget that because Trump's in office.
We need
This is the problem.
actual resolution.
Yeah, I need to know that somebody changed something and that we know what the data we're getting is good, and that it's compensating for these prosecutors who aren't charging for things like murder, rape, etc. Is this normalized across jurisdictions?
Mm.
Are
Yeah.
we seeing a global decrease in the rate, or are we seeing a decrease in the rate where jurisdictions are no longer prosecuting crimes properly?
And that's the question, or well, that's the answer we lack to the question we're asking.
Right. Exactly.
So
No,
we need to
I'm
know.
I'm cautiously optimistic on the administration overall, but when they give me something like that, I'm immediately skeptical and I don't feel good about it.
Well, that's fair.
I
And the
have the
thing
feeling
about
the
it is,
same fuckery is
we've
happening.
had this happen. Not this exactly, but we've had a whole lot of really nice things dangled in front of us by Cash and Dan. And Pam, too. Let's be real.
Oh, she should have been fired immediately
And
at the
then what do we
binders.
get? Well, we're waiting for the information to drop. I've got these binders on my desk full of
No,
files.
you see, she had everything on her desk, waiting for her to walk in, and then it wasn't there. So, I
Yeah.
mean, again, same shit, same kind of issues.
But
Um,
case in point that
I'm glad that
that
they're
I
at least
actually
paying lip
have to
service to it.
directly and specifically address is, where's the Epstein files? Okay, fine. We weren't promised anything specific on that, just that they would be released. Okay, fair. But what were we promised? Directly and specifically. We have video of Jeffrey Epstein doing the thing in his cell, and it will be released in the coming days.
All right, well, that's not
That's
specific.
about 2 weeks now since we reported on that, if I'm not
That's
mistaken.
yeah. Coming days could be the end of days. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, just we
yeah.
need a
Do
time
you
frame,
mean
not coming
the
days.
days when angels and men walk together and demons walk upon the earth? What days? The days when the dead rise? What days do you mean?
The days when Kirk is back in office,
The
right?
days of our lives. Uh, so
Well, it's
speaking of
not
the
when the
days
cows
of
come
our
home.
lives, we should probably
That's the
talk
last
about
ever
the
comes.
happening right now thing that's going to be debated for the next day and a half and should
Sure.
be entirely tossed out because it's garbage and is useless. And that's the big beautiful bill. Because
Sure. Yeah.
we had two very important
Well, it's got some good
compromises.
stuff in it, but it also
Some
has a lot of
and a lot
shit.
of pork and fucking garbage that is disgusting and terrible.
Well,
And
that's what you get with big and beautiful there. We need itemized, individualized bills. It's
yeah,
fine to have a single purpose bill.
it
It's
is.
fine. It's okay. You don't need an omnibus. You don't need any of that shit.
You
The
don't.
big beautiful bill is Build Back Better. Is my opinion. It's fucking
Well, it
garbage right
covers
now.
some of those things. Quite specifically, it does.
Well, go
There
into
are
detail.
aspects of the Green New Deal that are covered by the Big Beautiful Bill. But you know what? I can live with a compromise. I can compromise to build a better future when there's
Sure.
a compromise. And you know what my
Yeah.
compromise was? I'm not a single issue guy, but I don't have a long list. And when you put the Short Act and the Hearing Protection Act in there, well, you earn my support. Yeah, there's a lot of bullshit in there. Whole lot. But if you're willing to literally gut the NFA of everything shy of machine guns, I'll bend. I'll bend on that.
Yeah. This is asking for a
But,
break, not a bend.
mm-hmm. Well, that's not even asking for a fucking break. That's asking for a bend. That's a compromise. That's a fucking compromise. And the motherfucking the Senate parliamentarian, I wish
That
nothing
bitch needs to be out.
but the worst for this awful creature that masquerades as a human being. I want nothing for her but the worst. And I will not elaborate. But what has happened,
Well, she's attempting to take human rights. We'll put it like that.
she is indeed continuing to
In an
alienate our
unelected
human
position.
rights, which is outside of her purview and outside of her abilities, but for some fucking reason, we're just gonna fucking listen on this one, but not on the other one. Because we'll listen this time, but no, not on that. No, that's our friends. We'll just strike it and ignore you. But not this one, not this fucking one. Fuck no. So, what has happened is the Hearing Protection Act has been removed. The Short Act, which would have removed short barrel rifles and short barrel shotguns from the NFA, has been removed. And so the bill is bullshit and worthless and should fail. So, kill it, redo it, and do it right.
Get rid of her. That's the
Yes.
other thing.
Or
Get
ignore
rid
her.
of her.
Or ignore her like you did on the other provisions in the bill that she didn't like. Just fucking ignore that piece of shit cunt. She has no value. She provides no value. She makes America worse. So, move along. But no. And what do? They don't just say, okay, well, too bad. We lost this time. No. Instead of just taking it on the chin like a fucking man, like a fucking adult, they instead said, no. This bill, this tax on your human rights, this tax, we're going to remove that tax so that it's a zero. So that your human right, though it is alienated and infringed from you, will no longer be taxed. And guess what? Since it's not taxed, it's not a fucking tax! And can never be removed in this way ever again. So, they fucked us. So they could have just said, okay, fine, you fucking piece of shit fucking cunt. Eat 1,000 cocks until you choke on cum to death. But they didn't. And also, they didn't say, okay, fine, then we'll just axe it. Because they could have done that too. Instead, they say, okay, fine, we'll go ahead and take off the one avenue of attack that this fucking bullshit bill has, so that it will stay for fucking ever and can never be challenged again. And that's it.
So, Evan, tell us how you really feel.
I'm not allowed to because we have terms and conditions.
Right?
So,
oh man,
fuck the Senate parliamentarian thoroughly and completely.
No, I don't stick my dick in crazy, sir.
Oh, I didn't mean that way. But yeah, fair enough. So, anyway, that happened. And so they're going to probably put the thing through. It's going to probably pass. And we're never, I guess, going to... I don't know. I don't know. This was a perfect opportunity to restore some of our alienated rights that we were born with, that the government has blocked us from exercising. And to see such a fucking piece of shit idiot stand in the way of human rights bothers me to quite a lot. Quite a lot. And I have nothing good to say for that evil creature.
Speaking of stupid people, I'm guessing you heard about
Frogan?
No.
Denims?
We're staying in DC.
Oh, okay.
We can go back to that in a bit because that is a funny saga of its own, including yours truly. But first, we're going to stay in DC for a hot minute because there was a decision that came out of. No. So there's a decision that came out of SCOTUS that had so Trump v. Cars or Car
There's
or
a few
Inc. whatever.
Interesting SCOTUS decisions. Which
but there was a. This is the big one. This is the one that had Barrett bench slapping Jackson.
The one about kids.
The one about the one that blocked district courts from being able to issue nationwide injunctions.
Other one, because we'll get to the one about kids too, because that one's really good. That one's
so this one was great, and I read the decision.
Mm-hmm.
I specifically enjoyed a good part of the court's decision, which Barrett wrote herself, and and 5 other justices joined her on, and then a couple of them wrote their own majority decision addendums, but 6 out of the 9 were held the court's opinion, so it was a 6-3 decision, and Ketanji Brown Jackson decided to write her own separate dissents after joining Sotomayor on hers.
They're very smart. They are written by a very smart person who knows
Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson dissented together. Kagan and Jackson joined Sotomayor on her dissent, and then Jackson decided to write her own. And I got to tell you, it is, if you look at it as a comedy, it is very beautiful. It is fucking hilarious.
Fair.
Ketanji Brown Jackson doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. And the best part of all this was that the entire.
And by the way, I'll bring some receipts on that statement here in just a moment.
Well, let me just give you an idea of how much the entire court hates her. Sotomayor and Kagan didn't bother defending Jackson, knowing what Barrett had said, and 5 other justices joined Barrett in saying that Jackson ignored 200 years of precedent and the Constitution, and also the whole boring just the claps that were going on there. The fact that this is what a bench slap looks like a classic bench slap. Jackson got bench slapped, and the fact that Sotomayor and Kagan didn't, because remember, the whole decision, including the dissents, is all released at once. This is all written and known about by everyone beforehand. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that Sotomayor and Kagan didn't in any way defend Jackson from the remarks of Barrett, let alone advise her to not release her own fucking dissent, the babble that was. That means 8 out of the 9 justices fucking hate her. Like, she is despised
Or at
by
least
the court.
recognize that she is an idiot.
Now, again, they did nothing. So they send around memos with their legal opinions prior to issuing a decision. Like, they talk to each other with memos
Mm-hmm.
that are recorded. So, but we're not privy to them unless I'm guessing you could issue like some sort of freedom of information or whatever. You could probably get a hand on them, but like they're not publicized. They're not published in general. So you have to kind of imagine like what kind of dumb shit this woman is saying in the background to make the 2 justices who are going to just agree with her decide that they don't want to fucking touch her with a 10-foot pole. She's retarded, and it's very evident that she was picked not for being a legal scholar of
Well, she
some
was picked
magnitude.
for the reason that Joe Biden said he would use.
Well, that he was told to say. So
Well,
here, on
either
that note
way, Joe
specifically, I
Biden
have
made
one
a
more thing to add
specific
in.
statement, but yeah, go on.
I have one more thing to add in. It's a very specific note. So, autopen.
Update on that one.
Biden, Biden was recovering from surgery or what have you. He was in medical recovery, and Jill Biden's credentials were entered into the autopen when certain things were signed.
Mm-hmm.
So remember before I mentioned, and this is not like it's brand new or or like hush hush. It's common knowledge. The shape of Joe Biden's signature that was loaded into the autopen for his entire presidency is how Jill Biden writes his name.
Hmm. Is that so?
So yes, it is her signature that
Oh, that's
her
funny.
version of his signature, I should say.
That
Now,
is funny.
that's not wholly like bad, considering that he might have offered that to her as a gesture, or said, "Hey, honey, could you take care of this?" Because it's such a minor thing as his fucking signature. But notwithstanding, maybe he thought hers was prettier. And that is his prerogative because it is his signature that he'll be issuing from the autopen instrument. Except, of course, that it was her credentials that were entered into the device, which is like that should
And we
not be
tie this
legal,
back to
but it's a legal
something that
gray
we did
area.
report on, as a matter of fact. Of all bills and acts signed by Joe Biden, only one bears a matching signature, and that, of course, again, is the pardon of Hunter Biden.
Right. So going back to the autopen, it was revealed in testimony. Uh, so not was it? It wasn't this last Monday. It was the one before that. If memory serves. But anyway, there was testimony that was taken from various White House insiders
23rd, 24th,
from the
yeah.
Biden admin,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the kind of revealing one from longtime Democrat operative, what's her name, was that
Neera Tanden.
yes, was that she was responsible for signing many of the things that Biden supposedly signed.
From the period of October 2021 to May 2023.
Which is kind of like, again, like I said, there is the instance of Jill Biden's credentials being entered into the instrument in Delaware while he was in medical recovery in D.C. How that is like how that's a thing. Like, so again, this is legal gray area. The president is not allowed to delegate the power of his pen. Period.
Yep.
So anything that is not signed by him is not legally signed by him. Period. but that is not something that
Correct.
has been legally tested. Also, period. Like that, it's not even a legal gray area. It's illegal. We haven't done shit with this area because it's kind of like in some states in the U.S. For quite a long time there was no law against fucking animals, and the reason was nobody was getting caught fucking animals. It was not a legal issue. It wasn't because they thought it was a good idea and that it was approved. It was because that was probably taken into consideration under things like animal cruelty instead. Like there wasn't a specific law against bestiality in certain states because
Well, and let's be
people
honest,
were
we
not doing
can
it.
have a certain demographic that is so much more readily
Irrelevant.
represented in
Again, the laws
America
weren't
these
there.
days. Sure.
Again, the laws weren't there because they were not needed. In the same sense, we don't have a law against someone using the auto pen instead of the president because it has not been a thing. We have not needed a law against that yet. We should have one like now. If any, like this is a fantastic example of a huge win for Republicans. They could just do it. That it's illegal for anyone but the actual fucking president to use the auto pen device. In fact, the other thing that pisses me off here is that the machine wasn't in Delaware. The machine is still in DC. So why the fuck does this thing have an internet link at all? Like how is this machine connected to something else? Period. Why is it connected to anything else? It should only be connected to the president's fucking fingertip, pressing the button on it.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? It was originally made for like convenient stuff, like people sending in stuff for
Yeah, well,
autographs
I
and
mean,
this sort of
I would
thing.
like it if I had like 1,000 things to sign and I just had to press the button. I'd be
Well,
okay with
no, I
that.
mean, like legitimately, like it was just for people asking for autographs and signatures and just little things. Where it
Yeah,
was,
that's what I
oh, okay,
mean.
great, yeah, no,
If
here,
I
here
got
you
a
go.
thousand things, well, even so, like even with legal documents, like if I get 100 items, 100 work items on my desk, and my arm's just fucking tired already, or I'm just lazy that day, and it's my signature that I wrote. That's the other one that should be a fucking law, in my opinion, is that you should actually be the one who writes your own fucking signature to put in the auto pen.
Yeah, no matter
Like if
no
it's my
matter how
signature,
shitty it is, it needs to be yours.
like if it's my signature and I wrote it and I'm happy with it and I put it in the auto pen and I say like, you know what, I just want to have this thing repeat my signature and I'm the only one who has the credentials. Because again, how the hell did Joe Biden have credentials to put in the first place? I'm the only one who has credentials as the president. I want to sign 100 items and I want to get it done efficiently. I've got shit to do with my day. I'm okay with the auto pen being a thing. I think that I should be the one who has to sit there and watch the auto pen do the work if I'm president. But I don't think that I should be the. I shouldn't have to run my arm dragging signing line item or signing work items. That's reasonable to me. I like the way that Trump does make a fanfare out of the whole EO signing stuff, but like he's got shit to do too. I mean, the presser he does for it is the reason he's there to do it like that. But I have
Yeah,
no issue with him using his finger to press the button with his credentials entered on items where he's putting his signature. That's okay. If we cannot have a secured auto pen machine that is doing this with redundancies and checks in place to make sure that we know it is the president doing the signing, then we should give away with it entirely. It should not be there.
yeah, pretty much. Or just relegate it to completely non-official acts, like somebody said, "Hey, can you sign my scarf?" Sure
Now, even
enough,
that, even that, I think if you're president, either you should be signing shit yourself or you should have a secured auto pen to do whatever. I think that even with the simple shit like that,
yeah, fair,
it shouldn't be
fair.
allowed or it should be allowed. It's one or the other because you cannot exist in a situation where the president's power of the pen can be taken from him like that.
Indeed. And, since we're talking about fraudulent activities by Democrats, we should probably just go ahead and expand it all the way out and just talk about Act Blue.
Sure.
Because Act Blue officials are going to have to testify at the
Good.
House because of a DOJ probe into, quote, widespread fraud on the Democrat fundraising platform. God
Now, I would
forbid.
say this right away. The was it WinRed?
Oh yeah,
the
no,
Republican
there's
version.
some fuckery there too. Now, to be
They got to
fair,
rope that shit in, and I think
it
that
is
this would
not
be
on the
actually
same
okay,
level, but it
but
is.
it exists.
It does, and it needs
I
to be
think I
investigated.
think that I think that what Republicans should do is lead the charge on that now, or just after midterms, whatever. But they should do it when they've got the gun, because the backswing from Democrats is going to be so much worse if they don't steal that thunder from them.
Mm, yeah,
They've
possibly
got to
so.
yank that out from under their feet. If they rip that from them, then Democrats are not going to be able to come in swinging on it and go after them. Because remember, the whole pool book, rule book from politics here is being kind of perverted in a very partisan manner. In that, what's good for the goose is good for the gander here, and so if they don't get that finishing stroke in ahead of time and kneecap it, the backswing on that pendulum is gonna be pretty fucking rough. I mean, they came at Trump with 34 felonies. Like, when they go after, if they take down Act Blue, which frankly they should,
Mm-hmm.
and they leave up Win Red. Win Red is going to be stripped down for parts with Democrats if they don't get in there and fix it first. And they can grandstand and do all the chest beating they want, whatever. But if they don't get in there first and straighten shit out, they're just going to not have it.
Yeah.
And frankly, if Act Blue and Win Red can't be sorted out in a way that's going to make them functional and not fucking fraud machines, then they should just get rid of them too. But
Don't
that's a
disagree.
rational point of view. That's a rational perspective,
Do not disagree in any
and we're
way.
talking about politicians. So, like, we'll go ahead and give them the possibility of using these as earnings instruments, but they're going to have to do it legitimately. And if they don't lead the charge of making them legitimate, they're going to treat Win Red like the flip side's version of USAID. So, is that.
Yeah, no,
Now,
that's
I mentioned Denims and Frogan and yours truly being involved with some shenanigans.
do tell.
So
Is there some sort of online drama that has occurred in the past days?
so I noticed that there are some fun fundraisers for some poor
Fundraisers.
innocent women.
Why would these malfeasants from the internet need to raise funds?
So,
Pray
for
tell.
some poor
They
innocent
certainly
hijabis
wouldn't ever have done anything wrong that would result in someone doing
that were
something that
being
would require them to have lots of money. Surely.
they were being these poor innocent hijabis were being persecuted by dual citizens
Mm.
for copying the entirety of their content and not reacting to it in their reacting streams, and specifically explicitly stating that they were doing it for malicious purposes, then
Yeah.
deleting evidence, thus spoiling evidence, so spoliation of evidence,
Mm-hmm.
leading to the ability to do the deep root canal that is discovery.
Truly.
So these poor innocent women have put up their own fundraisers. Now I went ahead and just being the supportive individual of poor innocent women that I am, I decided to throw $5 for Ethan Klein and Gila onto onto the Denims TV and Frogan TV fundraisers for their law defenses, and then I went directly onto X and let people know what I did with screenshots of what happened. And as it turns out, Denims was not happy about that
You
and
don't
blocked
say.
me, which I okay, that's fair. But then both of them decided that they were going to start censoring their support messages
Hmm.
and pulled my messages from the listing. So I went ahead and refunded my support for them because no message, no $5. So Ethan's going to have to earn his $10 from me in a different way, I guess, because I no longer trust those two to transmit them. Denims is too stupid to actually, click the button and Frogan's already eaten it once, so I had to pull it back from her.
Mm, yeah.
Not trivial,
Sad.
what's her name over at what's it? What was her name? Patricia. Patricia over at GoFundMe is awesome,
Mm.
and got me my refunds processed right away. In fact, it was stated that it would be 3 to 7 business days for the one and 5 to 10 for the other, and both of them went through already today, this morning. So I've already got my $10 back. Um, Sucks to be you, Frogan and Denims. Good luck to you. It's funny as hell. Oh, and what's her third wheel? Casey Tron.
Yes.
That
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Oh, and then someone, whatever the fuck, the black, just a black guy. I think that Ethan just felt bad that he was suing only women, so he needed to introduce another minority. Um, so anyway, whatever irrelevant black guy is involved is also involves Casey Tron, right? The irrelevant woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those are the four that he is suing right now. Uh,
And just as a by the by, he's been
he would
pretty
have got it for
specific
Hassan, but
on this
Hassan
too.
actually reacted.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, I was frustrated because Ethan had gone to court and done well for fair use on YouTube, and he went there and he put his money and his reputation on the line and got a good win for fair use. And so I was talking to Bats about this. This is an issue. You know, is this going to impact fair use or what have you? Excuse me. And and the thing is, Ethan specifically mentions it in his video announcing the lawsuits.
That he does.
So
As a matter of fact, to that point,
he's
he's gone
yeah
out of his way not to injure tertiary parties. This is a very
right,
targeted and specific lawsuit. To which I say,
and it's
good on
also
you, Ethan. That's the right call.
exactly now. It's one of those things where I'm worried about some of the precedents it sets because there's some things that are just there's some openings legally for others who are not as gracious in their specificity
Hi
as
everyone,
far
Hunter
as their,
Bertram
their
here, just
targets.
checking in from the command post. You can see life
Like
right now
and
is
it's
moving
funny
seems
because the
very
guy's
much
such a
so
goof,
fast forward.
but Darkside Phil saying he's going to get rich off of this.
Huh?
It's like it's like I don't want to encourage people like that because that just leads to a
Copycats?
severe decline in a severe decline in fair use in general.
Also,
So that
yes,
could
that's
lead
fair.
to
And it
because
is,
it's not
and it's
just it's
not
not
in the
just
best place as it is right now today either. So
it's
that's
it's not just the precedents that are set by Ethan and his lawsuits. It's the precedent that is set by the subsequent people who use his precedent as the opening to wedge in their bullshit. And it's a tough thing because you're kind of asking for someone to weigh in on their legitimate potential injured state as in the eyes of the court, and winning specific damages for that, to weigh that against the possibility of some dickhead in the future taking advantage of the fact that they were able to get restitution, which it's legitimate restitution too. So like I see his point, and the issue is I fall back on the side of fair use writ large, and the classic case of this nowadays was not so classic a decade ago, but it's classic now, which is with Mark, not Mark, with Randazza and the LVRJ versus and Rayhaven lawsuits,
okay.
in which the entirety of an LVRJ article was republished in Whitehaven, um, and it was for the public interest, and LVRJ got upset about this, and so it was ruled through appellate court, so Ninth Circuit, I think it was Ninth Circuit. So it's the Las Vegas Review Journal, so a legal journal. And so the end ruling is that the full republication of a work without commentary can be fair use.
Well, what was it?
Within certain
Carl
circumstances.
Won a case literally on that defense. Sargon,
in
case you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. He did. And
so
it
wasn't a long trial at all.
No. So the LVRJ Righthaven case is like pretty fucking significant. Randazzo was the guy who landed that whale. So that was a huge win for him. And yeah, it's the wholesale republication of a work is fair use in certain circumstances, including when it's in the public interest. Now that means that there is an implication of mental component versus strict liability, which is an issue where you get in a civil versus criminal. In the civil sense, it's more likely that strict liability is going to be at play, but fair use is a defense, and fair use can include something that involves intent, which certain things like the de minimis standard can include somewhat of an intent component, depending on your circuit right now, because there's not a circuit split that's gone to SCOTUS yet. But you get the idea. There's this possibility that you have. So this is great for fair use, but then you have someone who has not only altered the original content, say Denims or Frogan, by putting their fuckhead faces next to it, and then having the frame around it making the video slightly smaller. Then they're sitting there and watching it, or going to the bathroom and not watching it, what have you. They've still literally altered the content. So it is now what you could be declared as a derivative work. And because it was for financial gain or in-kind gain, it was for commercial use in that sense. Unlike other derivative works where it is like for personal use, it doesn't have the same facile fair use protections. But again, the fair use standard is you have to satisfy one of the 4 tests. So that's a tricky one, because if the wholesale copying of a work can be fair use without alteration, without commentary, what happens? Is there a de minimis on commentary?
Commentary with the
No. LVRJ was completely without commentary. It can be done completely without commentary. Nothing altered, just a wholesale copying.
All right, fair enough.
That is the breadth at which fair use can stretch. And that's the issue here, is how far in would it contract from that extent with a precedent set in these cases? And that's where I get a little bit tetchy about it. But, I'm willing to see what happens and see him take it to court. It's just, I'll probably be a little more annoyed if it means that we lose that standard. Because that's a really good that was a kind of a landmark precedent set by the Righthaven saga. And part of it was because they fucked, like, the whole LVRJ and Righthaven thing, they fucked up in court so chronically and almost incredulously. Like, you almost feel like they were trying to set that standard when they were clearly not. But like it was like Three Stooges level of stupid that got to the point where that standard happened. Like, so we're fucking lucky that that's a thing right now, and we should try not to rock the boat so it stops being a thing. And that's the worry I have, is that the cases against Denims and Frogan and Casey Tron and someone to Black. Like, those cases could undo some of that good work that was done about a decade ago. Well, a little over a decade ago. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Like, again, he is specific. Ethan Klein is specifically mentioned in his video announcing the lawsuits that he is wary of the the fact that this might have some blowback as far as precedents. And to that effect, he's kind of he's very specific in the cases he's taken on, which is good.
Speaking of blowback, we should probably talk about our hat up north and Mark Carney. See, Mark.
Oh yeah.
Mark thinks that he is what you would call a man in charge, a man who runs things, a man who thinks he's in control. And well, just but a few days ago, our man Don Treasy, he went ahead and, you know what? I'll just read his own words because that's the best way to do it. They're so clearly stated. So, quoting from Donald Trump on his Truth Social, we have just been informed that Canada, a very difficult country to trade with, including the fact that they have charged our farmers as much as 400% tariffs for years on dairy products, has just announced that they are putting a digital services tax on our American technology companies, which is a direct and blatant attack on our country. They are obviously copying the European Union. Sorry?
We really need Shane Gillis here to do this for us.
I'm doing my best with a vocal fry here. Bear with me.
I know. I'm just saying.
I'm trying. I am trying to put out a big league performance here. And my impersonation is good, or so I'm told. That's what everyone says. Anyway.
Look, we don't try here. We just win.
Yes.
Go for it.
So, big league continuation of the reading. Anyway, they are obviously copying the European Union, which has done the same thing, and is currently under discussion with us also. Based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada, effective immediately. We will let Canada know the tariff that they will be paying to do business with the United States of America within the next 7-day period. Thank you for attention to this matter. And, of course, that was as of the 27th. And would you believe it? Would you believe it? As of tonight, just a few mere minutes ago, as a matter of fact, at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, it would appear that Canada has decided to drop their tax targeting U.S. tech firms, and that Mr. Mark Carney will indeed be resuming trade talks, aiming for a deal by the 21st of July. Whoever would have guessed?
They're trying to play hardball with a guy who's actually been doing this shit for years and years.
Yeah, it's like, oh, how many businesses have you started, Mr. Carney? Just out of curiosity. So where exactly do I buy Carney steaks and Carney waters? Do I get them at the Carney properties?
Well, I got a question, though. Where exactly do you buy Trump steaks?
Quite literally, they're at his properties. And the same for the water.
So
because what they do is, they don't actually. He's basically just.
So not like at the farm. Not like you don't go down to the store to pick up some Trump steaks.
Yeah, you're not going down to Trader John's to pick up some steaks or anything. No.
So when I go and get Canadian maple syrup, what you're saying is that there's no Trump steaks right next to it.
Well, that depends. Did you get your Canadian? Did you get your maple syrup for your waffles at Trump Tower? In which case, well, maybe there is.
No. I got the grocery store.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
The wider point here is that the commodity value here needs to be considered. And if they're going after our tech products that Canada might be using, that's a big issue, and it's really stupid that they did that. Again, Trump is a very successful businessman. People point to the failed businesses, not realizing that all that really tells you is how successful he is, considering he failed businesses
specifically. Because
consider he failed businesses, and then he still got money.
Well, yeah,
coming in from banks and loans,
and again,
too, you still want to loan to him.
Well, yeah. And why I wanted to mention Trump steaks and Trump water, because those are the two that are so often called. Well, that and Trump University, but that one did bust.
Well,
So why I'm not bringing it up, but the Trump steaks and the Trump water. It's like, yeah, he was never actually aiming for a national product. He was aiming for a product that's branded and in-house, and that's what he did. So they're not the best examples or best gotchas, as it were.
well,
And
again,
on the note
like
on the note of gotchas, I've got another update too out of Coeur d'Alene.
right.
The it looks like the shooting, its command centers are being taken down. People are starting to clear out. It looks like it is actually resolved.
That's good.
Yes, quite. I definitely want to know more, and the hope is by our next recording we can actually have some info for you, because it came completely out of left field, and there's just not been adequate data just at all. And speaking of not having adequate data, why don't we talk about the beautiful, luxurious, what should we say, paradise, honestly, that is Haiti, and what a wonderful non-shithole it is, how safe and wonderful it is for everyone there, if we're to believe, people like Conan
I saw
O'Brien.
those comments earlier, and I had a good fucking chuckle. That was really funny.
Did you now?
Well, look, they've got it's such a wonderful place for people to go.
Oh, it is.
Which is why they all don't want to go back there.
Conan O'Brien here. Haiti is a truly beautiful country, with a picture of him drinking some sort of tasty drink from a coconut.
Out of a skull? Oh, okay.
No, I didn't say barbecue. I said Conan. Jeez.
Oh. I mean, come on. Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, sorry. A Conan O'Brien. I should.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
my bad, dog. Excuse me.
No, there are so many Conans out there.
Yeah, my bad, bro. Excuse me. Apologies. You have that every now and then.
I mean, you might as well have said Krull.
Yeah, right? Oh, speaking of body snatchers, we should probably... DHS to terminate 500,000 Haitian legal status. But yeah, that was at the start of the weekend. So 500,000 Haitians will apparently be going back to the wonderful and perfectly lovely and safe place that is Haiti.
Ah, good.
Because it's perfectly lovely and wonderful and safe, right?
Yeah. So I've got a couple of stories that a friend of mine requested that I go ahead and bring up tonight.
Yeah, what you got?
And I should do it now because we're getting within range of me having to go to bed. And
Indeed,
so
we are coming up on
when it hits midnight, I plan on being getting into the covers as I'm taking the fucking pre-bed. So there are two stories that I slapped into show ideas. We're going to go ahead and hit the second one first because I think it's less of an interesting story. It's just relevant to the country, and it's largely derived out of the kind of economy that we inherited going into this year.
No, the shrinkage.
But the quarter one GDP growth was negative 0.5%. So there was a slight contraction of the national economy. Now this is kind of to be expected. It's not just the whole tariffs and all that nonsense. It's also the fact that we're coming out of. I mean, we're in a recession still. Let's just put it like that. It's very clear we're still in a recession.
You could say that
there
were some things that happened over the past few years that did not aid our economy.
Right, and one of those things would be something that was largely being undone in the beginning of the year by Doggy. And that was, correcting for jobs numbers in the last couple of years that were largely inflated by just hiring more government workers. Which is, if we got that component and ripped it out of the GDP, which we shouldn't, writ large, like we should make a separate GDP that does not include the government's influence whatsoever. If we stripped that out, we've been in a recession. We've just been propping it up by spending our great grandchildren's money. It's just frankly stupid. So anyway, some of that was undone by firing a lot of irrelevant people, and halting the process of enlarging the government without stop. And so between that, the USAID stuff that was happening, 0.5% is a pretty good margin for a recovery. Like that is a good margin. Again, though, this is really the smaller of the two stories, and it's not really even that big of a story right now. We have to see what the quarter 2 and quarter 3 give us before we have a good idea of exactly how deep the dive is going to be before we can get a good bounce back. The other one is out of my undergrad alma mater. My buddy was telling me exactly how nuts that place has become, which is unfortunate. So it's not upsetting, but it's really unfortunate. So this one is out of the New York Times, which is what it is. But the distortion machine did not have to work hard on this one. Let's put it like that. So a law student there decided to test out some novel legal theory, some novel constitutional theory.
Oh, you don't.
In my opinion, yeah, they decided to argue that the Constitution. Well, let me pull up the darn article again because I just have to read it directly from
the Times article.
Yeah, so this again is for I guess it was an L3, if it's their capstone for class.
Sure.
So I guess what's his name, Preston Damsky, whatever. But he argued that the framers had intended for the phrase "we the people" in the Constitution's preamble to refer exclusively to white people.
No,
and there he argued
true,
that the removal of voting rights protections from non-whites and for the issuance of shoot-to-kill orders against criminal infiltrators at the border. Now, part of this is, so let me skip to the part where it actually kind of sticks the landing. Blah blah blah, something the law school community, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the little blurb here. But the question of how officials should respond to Mr. Damsky, who in the interview said that referring to him as a Nazi would not be manifestly wrong, is not merely academic. When you state in an interview that referring to yourself as a Nazi is not manifestly wrong, you've lost the plot and the argument. This is the thing where I was talking to my buddy earlier when he was telling me about this, and I said, look, so this guy got an award from the class, from the professor of the class, for having so he was given, what was it, the book award. It designated him as the best student in the class, and it's the capstone counts. According to syllabus, capstone counted the most toward final grades. So yeah, this is a big deal for them to get, not just pass the class on this, but also to receive an award and best of the class. It's an interesting take on it, and part of it is certainly of contemporary derivation, and part of it is clearly of not so contemporary thinking and more innovative at the 1940s level. So that anachronism, I would have said, should probably penalize them. But yeah, this genius got himself a fucking award.
So what is the professor? Palestinian?
No.
Oh.
No, the professor's not Palestinian.
Huh. Damsky. Okay.
But the professor,
that's
so
the guy.
The professor, John L. Badalamenti, is a Trump-nominated judge.
Huh.
Who taught the class.
Well, okay, fair enough. I mean, gets the job done. I'll take it.
It's like I said, it's yeah. So anyway, the thing was, the point of the way that the person was graded was that they need to not the professors must not engage in viewpoint discrimination. And so
Fair.
was it specifically? So the question then is,
Well, I mean, real quick, let me just
specifically
bust
on the
in
merits.
real quick and just make a comment.
Sure.
This is the climate in which we've been living for quite some time. And
Well, sure.
as it is,
Yeah.
what's good for the goose is, at the end of the day, good for the gander.
But do you really want to be putting the next goose's neck under the cleaver just so you can pull it down on the handle yourself while the next goose puts your neck under there? So, like the eternal ratchet on the pendulum kind of thing here. Are we really going to try and escalate this shit to the
Well,
point
if
where
I'm
we
going to be
have
entirely
civil
honest,
unrest and a war?
I fall between white and red, so it kind of doesn't matter if I'm being fair. But I get what your point.
Sure, I get it.
I get what you're saying.
So the thing that really is of interest to me at this point, if they're gonna be worried about viewpoint discrimination being involved, is okay. Well, did it really have merit? In my opinion, it kind of doesn't. Like, this shit is old hat. This is not novel. This is not like a novel legal theory that nobody's thought of before. So I don't see it as something where the student should be given the best of the class book award. That seems a little bit too far. It's certainly funny, but you shouldn't be making a mockery of your class to the point where it's functionally fucking useless as far as credentials go. Like, it's farcical. So, I mean, there's that part of it, which I was trying to explain to my friend earlier. He wasn't having any of that either.
To be fair,
Like, let's just stand back for a second and take a look at the whole viewpoint discrimination
is
bit.
really, really complicated, and to give it the
Well,
space
it's because
it
it
deserves, you
spans
have to talk
centuries,
about
too.
things that people are genuinely not going to be comfortable with.
Right. That's what I was trying to get to. Is where are you going with this legal theory? So it was just not. I would encourage people to look into the Showlinks and read the whole article for themselves. It's probably one of the few times I'm going to say that the New York Times article is worth reading from the New York Times.
Well,
like I said,
quite the statement considering where it's coming from.
Like I said, the New York Times spin machine did not have to do a whole lot to help this kid along with what he's saying.
I have included the article, by the way, in an archive post to it, so that if
good.
interest, you can actually read over that.
So, so it's worth reading. You can see the spin machine from the New York Times in certain places. Of course, they're going to have their bias, and you have to kind of read around it. But again, you didn't have to do a whole lot of helping. This is kind of like with some other shit from happening earlier this year, where suddenly you see journalists doing their job in a way where you're just like, well, it's not so hard to see how that's an issue, is it? And it's because the people that they were covering were doing stuff so incredibly
egregious,
out of color. So incredibly out of color that they didn't have to spin anything for their natural biases to be satisfied. They could just cover the fucking story, which is really wild. Really wild that that's even possible, but it is.
Speaking of stories that need to be covered and racial bias and spin, we should probably just dig into.
I'm gonna say we can leave these two now. We've got 13 minutes left, basically.
We can, but there's something we should probably mention. And that's Justice Jackson and her astounding legal premises of late. In her most recent,
so we've covered the one.
Well, in her most recent, I will just read. I'll just read the first. In a passage from Justice Jackson's dissent in CASA, a Martian arriving here from another planet would see these
Yep.
circumstances and surely wonder, quote, what good is the Constitution then? End quote.
Well, so you can see where
You
Barrett's
dumb bitch. Oh my
you
fucking holy baby Jesus Christ. You dumb bitch.
you can see where Barrett's comments comes in, where she said she ignores 200 years of precedent and the Constitution itself.
Yeah.
Surely you can see now where that came from.
Clear as crystal. And that's only just the most recent example, because there's plenty. Like
I said,
there's so many.
she's remedial as hell. She is remedial as hell, and she needs to not be there.
Yeah.
Now,
She was
I
hired
would
for exactly
hardly
the
call.
reason that Joe Biden said he would hire her.
I would hardly call for Justice to be impeached over being a fucking idiot. But, you know, should someone find a reasonable reason to impeach her, I would not be that upset with that precedent being set, because I'm pretty sure that would be the first justice from the SCOTUS to be impeached. Unless I'm forgetting something really fucking obvious and I'm having a brain fart.
Maybe. So
Which is
let's,
possible. I'm not, not
let's
infallible.
roll out the end of the night with just a bunch of good news. I have got to, I got to top off my coffee and rock a piss real quick. So honestly, I'm just gonna post this.
So I'm gonna be here twiddling my fucking thumbs.
No,
or are you gonna post something for people?
Oh yeah, actually no. Supreme Court had, and this one is about 3 days ago. There was a ruling, the same exact as ever, 6-3, but 6-3 ruling in favor of South Carolina, allowing them to ban Planned Parenthood receiving any Medicaid funds or taxpayer dollars. So, offer some comments if you'd be so kind. I'm back in like 30 seconds.
I gotta be honest. I basically blanked on what he said.
Ah, shit.
I'm just
Okay.
gonna go ahead. I'm sorry. I just opened up the Odyssey page because I wanted to see what was going on there. I see that Bats has been talking the whole damn time. I haven't read any of it.
Yeah, Canada doesn't even know they're honking. I don't have any updates out of Canada, actually, other than that they suck. What's...
All right. Well, I mean, like.
Oh shit!
Just
actually, no. Let's do.
Blah blah blah. Casey Tron.
Here we go. So, in response to the 8-year citizen, Zoran Mamdani.
Oh yes, the Egyptian.
Yeah, Tom Homan. Zoran, he said, in short, "Fuck off." To which border
he might get denaturalized.
Said, good luck with that. We're going to double down, triple down on sanctuary cities. But yeah, tell the folks real quick what's happened involving Zoran's citizenship cough.
Yeah. So that genius was he filed in 2016 or what have you, and then I guess someone's said interestingly that he doesn't have his naturalization papers, which is very interesting considering his claim right now, and I'm assuming his fact-checked claim is that he is a naturalized citizen. I don't see how you don't get your naturalization papers out of that. Yeah, this guy, he's interested in globalizing the Intifada, as it were. So, I mean, if you think that London's been having issues, that's an autopen. Yes, bats at the autopen. I mean, that would be. So there's a good question. It's so who should be in charge of the bat lamp? I mean, if it's not the commissioner, what happens if it's the commissioner's wife and she's several states over, and she put in her credentials to the machine, which supposedly only has one set of credentials and it's not hers, and then dials in to do the bat lamp.
Sorry about the quick delay there, but yeah, you were able to go over the actual letter of the law and what it says about these folks.
No, go ahead. You should
really?
You should go ahead and
go
ahead.
Well, there's this cool thing in the law. I believe it was 1954, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on the date, maybe a
You
little.
talk about the Naturals or the Immigration Whatever Act.
Yeah, that one. That one.
That
Yeah.
was 60s, I believe.
Was it? Well, I want to say it's 54, but I could be wrong. The date's not super, super important. But what happened with that is there was some laws that were put through that have never actually been tested, interestingly enough. That, long and short, if you're a communist, you're not a people. Now, I'm paraphrasing significantly. But,
Yes, yes. I can go ahead and hop in on that one again a little bit again. He has clearly stated in the past prior
oh,
to seeking
52.
naturalization.
52, by the way. The Immigration and
Thank you. Okay.
Nationality Act of 1952. I was close.
All right. So there was an amendment then in the 60s to that, or like a revision by law, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, the long and short of that, though, is basically if you hold a
No commies.
yeah, the super long and short is no
Commies go home.
But it is quite specifically spelled out that communists are not allowed in America. Like, if you are a foreign citizen and you're a member of the Communist Party, you're just not welcome here.
So he has openly stated in the past that he is a communist and agrees with communism, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Part of his rap career was involved in that.
Yeah, yes.
There was
his
the
rap
Hamas
career,
5 or whatever.
by the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, just that it's a thing that's there. Just
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Well, here's the deal. Like, Steve Austin, he became he became something. Arnold Schwarzenegger became something, right?
Fair,
these are gentlemen who have they had acting careers. Reagan was an actor.
He was.
I would not qualify an
Some say
actor
never
as a president.
Anyway.
Right. I would not qualify an actor as a president or a governor or a mayor. And yet, these men have managed to rise above exactly these limitations in their lives, somehow, to obtain office. So, I mean, a person with a rap career is not a whole lot different from an actor, in my opinion, as far as should they become a politician.
Well,
I'll leave that one dangling, I think.
Yeah, well, I can't say that Ronald Reagan was the most.
He acted like a Republican.
Ronald Reagan was a very good actor. You know what? Ronald Reagan was a great actor. I can say that with certainty. I mean, I feel comfortable making that statement.
Look, the man got shot, and then he made a fantastic joke when a balloon popped. And that's
He did, but you know what? All I'm going to say to that is I have seen these things play out. I guess technically throughout my lifetime, although I was way too little to notice that shit. But anyway, I have seen two presidents get shot, and I'll say that one of them was a bitch, and the other wasn't. Is all I'm
so
saying.
So on the Ma'am Danny situation, I think I'll close my thoughts on this for it. We have a New York that still exists as almost as we knew it beforehand today. Like, it's certainly gone downhill, but it's not gone. It's still a New York.
Many of the buildings and infrastructure are still there. It looks like we remember it.
Oh no, there's still even a culture there. Let's just.
Hey, Curtis Sliwa still lives there.
Bigger picture.
I mean, for real.
Bigger picture.
Yeah, actually.
Bigger picture here. Once it goes Sharia, it's not easy to undo that. Put it like that. You don't just.
But fair.
Well, yeah, and it took how many years, and it took how many people. So don't just undo this shit. You see how it's happened to London. You don't just undo that.
It is
like if you allow that swing in the pendulum, you've got to find a way to pick it up higher and swing it back harder, and it's not easy to do that.
That's true.
So, letting this kind of cancer creep in is not going to be good. The city's already in major decline. And
Oh,
you're talking about the kind of situation that will
bro, have I
push
got some great news for
basically the
you?
entire tax base out of it.
As a
Like
matter
you
of
will lose
fact,
the whole tax
breaking
base.
from just a few days ago, it looks like someone has done a really excellent service for the people of New York. They have created a website for Mr. Mamdani. How kind
Oh,
of them, you
good.
say? Well, you see, Mr. Mamdani, he's got a history, as we are
Yes, he
recording on
does.
this very moment. And by the very fucking moment, he is deleting it. Well,
He
it would
is.
appear that this is anonymous, wonderful user from Twitter at Apple lamps_Apple saw it happening and thought, we can't let the past be destroyed. We have to save it for the future generations. And so they have created Zoran, Zohran .vercel, Vercel .app, and you can go there right this very instant and look at some of those thoughtful posts that Zoran made in the past that he has decided for some strange reason to delete. So you can go there right now. And don't worry, the link will be in the show links below so that you can look into that yourself. So you can look back and say, oh, well, that's an interesting thing that Mr. Mamdani said. I'd have never guessed he'd say something like that. Well, don't you worry. You can hold him to it. And I'll put the links right there for you. Anyway, please, do continue, sir. Just had to mention that.
Well, no. I think that is a good place for us to cut off me talking further because the midnight hour has come.
Ah, indeed it has. And
And,
witching times have arrived, and
and
you gotta get yourself rested so you're well suited and
yep,
ready.
because it's every 6 fucking hours again is what it is.
Right. Right. Okay. So, how about we close it out with a little bit of good news because we've got a bit.
Yep.
So, in mediocre news, it's going to end in good news because, of course, it will.
I was gonna say,
So,
what the fuck?
I should say, the Maryland man himself has
Oh yes,
actually
Mr. Cleo.
returned to America. Mr. Garcia, Mr. Kelmar Abrego Garcia, he was returned
Oh, that's right.
gloriously to the United States, not his home, where he is not a citizen. And
Right.
he was returned from El Salvador, which is his home, where he is a citizen,
Where he wasn't killed.
magnanimously by the kindness of Nayib Bukele. So that we could try him again and send him off to fucking some other fucking place. And by the way, SCOTUS said, sure, whatever, I'm good.
You know,
Wherever you want to
here's
send
I
him,
think
all good. Oh, he can't go to El Salvador? Whatever. I don't
that's
care.
what I was gonna
Send
say.
him off.
So here's what I say on this. I think it was a service for us to take that cost off of El Salvador's hands. That
Well, and
recurring
that frees up some of the money
cost.
we're already paying him so that we can send some anti-fags or something down there, you know?
Exactly.
Well, whatever. So there's one, but no, there's not just one. We've
I think
got
we should send him to Haiti.
maybe. Well, you know what? He's a competent
I think
guy.
we I think we should limit
Maybe he
his
could
places.
challenge barbecue for leadership or some shit, you know?
I think we should limit his options as far as where he can go. I think that Haiti is a perfect destination for him.
That would
I
work.
think that we should downgrade his ass like pretty harshly. I think we should send him there
Hear me out.
or Trinidad
Hear
or
me out.
maybe South Africa.
Peep it. What do you think about this one? Our greatest ally has suffered tremendous losses in the past weeks, and they could use some support. So
Sure.
how about this? Kilmore,
I think
he's a practiced combatant. He is trained in the in like gunplay and martial arts. So why don't we send him over to help out our buddies in the IDF, right?
I think we should just send him as the lead on an expedition into.
Yeah, no,
I don't
he
know.
can be like
How
our
about
head
Jambalaya?
negotiator with Ayatollah fucking whatever his nuts is. The last guy I was talking about.
No. I think we should send him into Gaza. I
Ooh.
think you should check out Jambalaya.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because that is actually one of the stories I'm going to talk about here real quick as we're closing out, is that Trump is actually pushing for an expansion of the Abraham Accords to Palestine.
I
And
think that would be interesting.
that's quite bold, and I like it. I really, really do. If we
This is
can
kind of bold
force
indeed
peace
right now.
in that area, that's great.
I think it's not just force peace, but enforce peace. I think
Well,
that
we're
is the
we're going to have
interesting
to
part of
force
that.
it in the first place, and then enforce it after the fact. But if that's what it
I
takes,
think the
I mean,
enforcement
how many
part's going to
fucking
be the interesting
trillions of
part.
dollars did we burn in that fucking sandlot anyway?
Well, that Sandlot, not so much, but the
Okay,
one
in
right
the
next to it,
vicinity
a
of that
whole lot.
sandlot, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And speaking of
I
that,
think we spent
speaking
enough
of
there.
wasteful losses, I'm sure everyone caught the tragic and heartbreaking, honestly, news that our hero, at least hero of the show here at the Fake Untitled Podcast, Big Balls, had sadly
Yes.
ended his term
Oh,
with the
no.
U.S. government. But no, 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 no.
He is
The
back.
world
Older
is
than ever.
better than that. He's back, baby. Don Treasy himself demanded it. And that's right, goddammit. Big Balls is working for us. We got American Big Balls back. God bless. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, we're closing with more good stuff. Of course we are. Of course we are. And we're going to go hard and heavy. Close out this night with power. With a couple of SCOTUS rulings, as a matter of fact. So, let's start with the first one. About 3 days ago. SCOTUS rules what? That parents can pull their children from public schools that decide to use LGBTQ storybooks. Because why? Because they literally depict sex acts in their fucking pages. Well, that and more, but, I'm not on SCOTUS, so whatever. But you can't show this to children reasonably. It's not appropriate. It's just...
I like that there was a teacher who was trying to respond to that, saying they're just going to assign shit anyway. It's like, yeah, you go ahead and do that, and I hope you end up in fucking prison. It's like, just do that the once. We'll try and, recover the kid who gets scarred by that.
Mm-hmm.
But then several generations further won't have to fucking deal with it from that same asshole.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, I think declaring that intent should mean, like, the first sign that they see someone's trying to do that as a
it might as
follow-up
well be
to
as
actually
saying,
acting on it.
You might as well look at the person like as if they said, hey, I'm going to rape the first person I see. You need to give them that same level of scrutiny.
Well, it says it's. I think we should take that as a direct. Those as actionable direct threat words.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Like you're going to do what? You are literally going to try and groom school children.
Exactly.
No, we're not cool with that.
It's like, how about you don't do that, and we say you didn't, and because you didn't, otherwise you're in jail.
Indeed. And, of course, this isn't so much a jail thing, but it does tie back to SCOTUS. As a matter of fact, it's a great way for people to avoid jail. And, of course, the people I'm talking about are non-natives that don't get shit because they don't get shit. What am I talking about? Nationwide block on birthright citizenship? No. 6-3. Of course, the usual suspects. But what? But if you were born here, well, bitch, that shit don't matter. Were your parents born here? Oh, they weren't? Well, then you need to go home with your parents. Because we support families here in the United States. Tom Homan, he's a family man. He's going to send you home with your family. He's not going to split up those families. He's not going to put 500,000 children into sex trafficking industries. He's going to send those children back with their parents like a person who actually cares. And SCOTUS says 6-3 that's exactly the right move. So there is no more birthright citizenship, period.
Well, let's put it like this: there's no more birthright citizenship tourism either.
Right.
all of those Russian oligarchs who are shipping their pregnant wives over here to
Mhm.
have birth and
All
bring
those
their kid
Chinese
who is now a
oligarchs. That
citizen home.
same exact matter. Yes, exactly.
Exactly the same. Yes,
Literally the
that's
same
over.
thing.
Sending pregnant women across our southern border to give birth and create anchor babies and start in on our benefit system
Hmm.
for Medicaid and Medicare. All that shit is over.
Thank
Thank
you.
God. And
Please
it
drive
has an
slow.
effective date of February, whatever of this year. So there are
Backdated.
people who, yes, there are people who think they have birthright citizenship now who
Nope.
are
Bitch, you
stuck.
fucked up.
Yes.
You fucked up big.
All right. With this, I do got to go.
Ah, truly. Well,
Um,
the one you may have
yeah.
missed that I've not seen anybody putting out there, and I didn't see you commenting on our side of things either. We got
Uh-huh.
the China trade deal. It is signed. It'll be going into
We
effect, I
did.
think,
Yeah.
next year. Not next year, next month.
Right.
And
Awesome. Well, all right.
actually,
I'm gonna go right now. So
well, you go on to
I'll
bed.
leave you. Have a good night. Yes,
And
sir.
it has been a pleasure. You can find my man Craig there at CraigBob99, all the places. Make sure and give him a follow. And, of course, I've got one or two more little ones that will close you out
All right.
for the night here. So,
Good night,
brother,
sir.
you be well. Wishing you the best of health and good results.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. So, good listeners, we've got a little bit more. So, I'll go into a little bit of detail on the China trade deal as it stands currently. We don't have quite everything. So we'll see how it plays out when it goes into effect. But as it stands currently, it'll formalize the May 2025 terms. So both nations will cut their tariffs by 115%, keeping a 10% base tariff level. China will be removing their retaliatory tariffs from April 4th and suspending their non-tariff measures from April 2nd. U.S. will be removing our additional tariffs from April, returning to prior tariffs and duties, and then both parties will agree to address the fentanyl crisis, and we will plan future trade talks moving forward. So this, big news. Big news. It's something we've needed because, let's be real, China's been fucking us over for a long time. So we have to get something hard and fast on paper, in the courts. That's just the way it is. And that's just the way it's going to be. So that they can't fuck around and fuck us over going forward. Because the next person gets in, if it's not J.D. Vance, it might be some piece of shit. And who knows what J.D. will do, right? We don't know. He's a fun dude. And, he gets the culture. But you never know. So, better to get these things decided, on paper, down, done, set, and ready. And on that, we've got a fun bill out of the House that will ensure that illegals who are drunk drivers get the fuck out. For some reason, 160 Dems thought that was bad to deport drunk drivers who are also criminal aliens. But, of course they did. Why wouldn't they? So let's see here. We got a little bit more here. What do we want to do? How about? Oh yeah. Of course. Don Treasy, just earlier today, he was like, "Hey people, my man Benji Netanyahu, he's over here. He's dealing with this shit with the fucking Knesset or whatever, and they're taking him to court for being an absolute human piece of fucking filth garbage, who is corrupt as shit." I may be paraphrasing just a scoons. Anyway, the Israeli court has rejected requests to postpone his corruption trial hearings. Well deserved. Benji's an absolute piece of shit who makes the whole world worse, and I am utterly unafraid to say that. The man quite literally played a hand in the foundation of Hamas, as well as numerous other villains, in the area. So, fuck that guy. And speaking of guys that need to get fucked, there was an Egyptian fella who, he was doing some traveling. And he kicked a Customs and Border Patrol detector dog, agricultural dog, not a drug dog. And, well, guess what? You gotta go. You gotta go. You be deported. So, he's out. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, let's finish out the night with what? Gosh, we got a lot we could throw out here. Don't really have any more updates on that firefighter shooting thing out of Idaho. So, maybe check back on that in the coming weeks. We'll see. But beyond that, a little bit more good news. So, Pharaoh, everybody, they popped open the sarcophagus and saw the mummy, and then everybody knows the stories. The archaeologists, they all died within weeks or whatever from some sort of fucking infection or some bullshit. Interestingly enough, that fungus, that very same fungus, the Pharaoh's curse cough, it would appear that that fungus holds astounding properties, and it has been used to create a compound that is able to kill leukemia cells, of all things. How cool is that, right? So, hey, that's kind of some kind of cool news. And, well, I guess that's about it, really. Not a bad way to close us out. So, we'll be back again real soon, lining up an interesting interview with a friend of the show, or personal friend, I should say. It's been dealing with a comical level of police corruption and malfeasance. And it is my hope that we can get my friend Fluff on to talk about that. So, we'll see. Going to try. There is a timetable on that, because my friend is... There's a timetable on that, and we'll just try and get that done in the near future before it's too late. So, with that, wish you all a fine, fine week. Be well, be safe, and, just try and make the world a little bit better if you can. That's what we're doing here, if for no other reason or course of action than that, it's kind of scary, it's kind of dark, and we should at least try and shine the lights into the dark corners so that you can see what's there, and maybe it's not so scary. Anyway, all my love. Everybody be good. I'm Evan at That Fake Guy Dan. Like I said, you can catch my man at CraigBob99. We are missing our good friend Steve. You can find him at Ratman720. We'll be back again real soon. Bless. Oh, yeah. Subscribe, like, comment, follow, and share the links. Now bless. Bless.